It's finally here. It's time to spot the ball. The Rich Rod 2.0 era is officially beginning this week, and we're going to preview the upcoming game against Robert Morris Colonials, and we're bringing on a very special guest to do it, and we'll have that conversation right now. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college sports news and analysis around the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12. In today's show, we're bringing on a guest to break down the Robert Morris Colonials and kind of let WVU fans know what to expect this coming Saturday. And to have that conversation and fill us in a little bit about Robert Morris is Mr. Adam Borst from RMU Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family. Adam, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Thanks for taking time out of your day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, real quick before we jump into the details, man, just let everybody know what you do over there for the site and where they can find your work.
Yeah, I do a large portion for our RMU site. So get me at every football game, basketball game, and a lot of other sports I try to touch on at least. And then yeah, you find me at Adam Borst PGH on X, and yep.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And for those of you listening, not watching, it's at Adam Borst, BORSTPGH on X or Twitter. You can also check him out over at the. Does RMU have their own website, or is it all part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now
Yeah,
website?
so we do. It'll be rmusportsnow.com.
Gotcha. Okay, so check
Yep.
him out over there and check out his work. All right, man. Well, listen. This is as I was doing research for this, I found something very interesting. Robert Morris shares some similarities with West Virginia in the way their team is being built this year, and there's a lot of newcomers on this team. Can you just talk, or well, I should say, before we get into the newcomers, they're losing a lot of guys from last year's team, which finished third in the Northeast Conference. Can you talk a little bit about what they're losing from this team, this Robert Morris team?
Yeah. Losing their starter, basically all the skill positions on offense, their quarterback. So they rushed for 1,400 yards last year. Their top three guys all left. Don't know how many passing yards they threw for, but it was a very up-tempo offense with three big play receivers. One transferred and two graduated. So they return a tight end, but he was honestly like I think in a more depth role last year, but he's preseason all NEC selection. And then defensively lost their top corner and 200 tackle linebackers too. So they had a lot of work to replace all those guys.
Yeah, I found it very. As a matter of fact, I wrote my little in my preview that I wrote from my site over at WV Sports Chat. I mentioned, we've heard Rich Rod talk about how West Virginia's only returning two full time starters from last year. Same thing for Robert Morris. The only difference is, the only difference is both of West Virginia's are on the offensive side, where Robert Morris does have one defender returning in his name is Trey Woods. I got him wrote down here because he's a defensive lineman. What can
Yeah.
you tell us about Trey Woods and how good of a player is he?
So last year, Robert Morris's defense as a whole got after the quarterback. They were top 35 in the nation. I don't got all the stats on him, but like tackles for loss, sacks. So he was a part of a really good group last year. We'll see what he can do with a bunch of new guys around him, but I expect that to be a strong point for them this year.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the tight end being selected preseason all conference player. Phil Steele actually has Woods as a second team all Northeast Conference player this year as well. So looks like he's a good football player. 250-pound defense. Depth chart has him listed as a D lineman. I saw some sites have him listed as a linebacker. I think Phil Steele listed him as a linebacker, but he's a D lineman, right? A D end, I would assume.
Yeah, he's gonna probably play kind of a hybrid role for them, like more
Gotcha.
of a DN.
D end, maybe a edge rusher type.
Hmm.
Okay. And I guess those guys could kind of fill in. You can kind of consider them linebackers, DNs, whatever. Jamoy Robinson at West Virginia, if he gets eligible, that's kind of what he'll be. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're talking about there. Uh, can you talk a little bit about the quarterback from last year was Anthony Chickett? I guess is how you
Yeah.
pronounce his name. I think he
Correct.
transferred out. Can you talk a little bit about how good he was and how hard he's going to be to replace?
Yeah, I mean, he was a local guy. Went to Bethel Park High School, which is probably 20 minutes outside the city and whatnot. He along with a couple of the receivers, they kind of progressed over the years, and last year he really turned it on. Had some really good games last year. Now at the last game of the year, they did, I don't know what the reasons were, but they did bench him for the backup who is in the quarterback battle this year.
Right.
And his backup played good, albeit it was against Stonehill. So I don't. They also just lost all their receivers, and I don't
Right.
know how good
Right.
those guys will be. So I'm not sure how much help he will get, whoever the replacement ends up being, because they've been kind of radio silent on that battle. So,
Hmm. Also similar to West Virginia. Yeah,
hmm
looks like they had the number one offense in the Northeast Conference last year. So, they had some good receiver play, good quarterback play, and I find it so weird that both these teams are replacing almost everybody. Uh, so many similarities in that regard. Can you talk a little bit about Zach Tanner, the quarterback you talked about, the guy who started that last game? What's he bring to the table? Assuming he wins the job,
yeah,
obviously.
he's a bigger frame quarterback. He has some wheels on him. He's 6'2", 180. So I mean, for NEC football, he's good sized.
Hmm.
I think in his start last year, he was pretty accurate. He went like 15 for 20 with 2 touchdowns, but he did also throw 2 picks in that game. So we'll see how comfortable he is, especially
Right.
against a Big 12 program,
Right.
if he does win the job.
Yeah. Now, who's he battling it out with in camp?
So they brought in a Harvard transfer, Amir Dudley, another local guy. But the interesting thing about Dudley is so he committed to Harvard as a quarterback, and then after his first year, he switched to DB, which is where
Hmm.
he's been since. And until Robert Morris contacted him in the portal, he was going to go overseas and play defensive back for a university somewhere over there.
Wow.
I read, but Robert Morris's OC hit him up and wanted him as a quarterback. So you know he was an athlete back in his high school days, and so he'll probably bring more mobility if he would win the job. But at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't be surprised to see both of them play
Right.
on Saturday.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Again, West Virginia fans are expecting the same thing, expecting
hmm
at least two, if not three quarterbacks to
hmm
play. I don't know how much you keep up with that, but I'm sure uh, you and Ostie have probably talked about that. Uh, and both coaches seem to be keeping everything close to the vest, apparently.
hmm
Talk a little bit about other key transfers that Robert Morris may have brought in. Whether it be running back, because I know they're losing a lot at running back, receiver, all these different positions. What are you expecting to see
Yeah, I'll touch
on
on a
both
f-
sides of the ball? Yeah.
yeah, I'll touch on a few, especially on offense that I expect to stand out. Like I said, I've been looking for the depth chart to drop, but they have not done that yet. So I can't really give you solid answers of who you'll actually see. But they brought in a UMass transfer at running back, Dante Wack. I expect him to basically take over the role Trayvon Edmonds had last year, which is just a workhorse leader. And then behind him, they brought in a guy from Eastern Michigan who's going to be more of a gadget guy because he has wide receiver experience too, which I think they will play him there. Um, and then one of the wide receivers I think that has a good chance to play is a Ball State transfer, RJ Mooks. He's a smaller guy, so expect more of a blazer out of him. And then defensively, like I said, they lost 200 plus tackle linebackers. Which really drove their defense last year. But they did try their best to replace him. They brought in another UMass guy, Jyree Roberts, and then a Wake Forest transfer who Eldrick Robinson. He didn't really play too much at Wake Forest, but back in 2021 as a freshman at Georgia State or Georgia Southern, my bad. He was an all Sun Belt. third team selection. He had 74 tackles and 5.5 TFL. So I expect him and Roberts to
Mhm.
try to fill the shoes of the
Right.
guys before him, but it'll be hard because they were pretty good players. And then I do like to say like they brought in two safeties that I think could be good. Yet again, little college experience, so we'll see how it actually turns out.
Yeah.
But I I liked some of the guys, and that's also why I think they did get at least one first place vote in NEC because they brought in a lot of D1 guys or FBS guys, I should
Mhm.
say. So I think they're expecting a lot from people, but you just never really know until they get out there.
Right. Fair enough. What can you tell me, or and the listeners? By the way, I'm talking with Adam Borst from RMU Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Net Sports Now family. Most West Virginia fans know Mike Ossie from WV Sports Now. Adam is part of that team. What can you tell everyone about? Uh, and I hope I say his name right. Tasheen Howard. I guess he's a DB and punt returner. Phil Steele actually listed him as his first team preseason All NEC punt returner. What can you tell folks about him?
Yeah, so Tashin, he got good size. He's 5'11", 170. He led the NEC last year in punt return yards. I think I could be wrong. He started his RMU career as a wide receiver and he switched over.
Hmm.
Um, so yet again, I don't. He was definitely not one of their top two guys last year, but he's gonna be expected to
Yeah,
take on a big role this year. Definitely explosive in the return game though.
right. Yeah, yeah. He didn't play a ton last year, based on my research in the
Hmm.
secondary. But that return game, I mean, if he's pegged as the first team all conference guy, then he must be pretty explosive. So that's a little concerning to me because we have no idea what this West Virginia punt unit is going to look like this year because everything's new, right?
Hmm.
We expect they'll be pretty decent, but not sure.
Yeah.
Good thing is Rich Rod offenses don't usually punt a lot, so it may not matter. But if they are able to do what they want to do, they probably won't have to punt a whole lot. So
Yeah.
let's hope that's the case. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out appalachiadigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at wvsportschat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. Now let's get back to the show. Uh, you kind of touched on this, but the key skill players. What about there's a guy named Kai Holloway that I find interesting. Wide receiver transferred over from Maryland in 2023. Didn't I think he caught 3 or 4 balls last year was all. I think he's caught 7 in his 2 years there. Do you expect him to be a key contributor this year at all?
Yeah, I definitely expect him to be one of the guys that needs to step up in that receiver room. Just based off his frame, his FBS pedigree. I mean,
Hmm.
you would expect he could and should be someone that could stick out in that
Right,
wide receivers room.
right. What about Ethan Shine at running back? Anything on him? Is he competing for the job, or do you think he'll be a backup?
Um, I think that's just another position where we're gonna probably see a lot of guys. If I'm not mistaken, last year he definitely didn't like play too much last year. I think he had a game or two where he had decent like a chunk play here and there,
Hmm.
but it, just with all three of their guys last year leaving, him and that Owen McGraw from Eastern Michigan and Dante Wack and
Hmm.
probably one or two freshmen might all get decent looks at playing time.
Right. Yep. Yes. I was just reading. I was trying to look at see what they did have coming back. And man, but you look at him, very limited carries. You looked at, I mean, Kyle Holloway only 7 catches in 2 years.
Hmm.
I mean, pretty much every position they're having to replace everybody. The O line they're replacing 4 or 5 guys. What do you expect their offensive line to look like? Are they? I don't.
So
You kind of hinted that they're keeping everything close to the vest, but have they given any indication as to how good their offensive line can be, even though they're replacing a lot of guys.
So I really couldn't tell you. I haven't had the chance to catch a practice personally yet, so I really haven't seen anything. And
Hmm.
then anytime I try to get some info out of people, they are not too
Right,
open right now.
right.
So I couldn't tell you. I would say I would say it's just about the rest of their team, where it's
A lot of question
you
marks, huh?
yeah, you really ain't gonna know. They ain't even gonna know after Saturday. It's not gonna be until probably game 4 or 5 they
Right.
know
Yeah.
what they got.
Yep. All right. There's a couple new coordinators at RMU. I know the head coach has been there. He's going to what, year 8, year 9, something like that. But
Sounds
they
about
changed
right.
coordinators. What was did those guys get new jobs? Did they get fired? What happened there?
Yeah, so the defensive coordinator, I think, accepted a linebackers coaching job at James Madison, and if I'm not mistaken, the offensive coordinator is like uh Idaho State, maybe Montana, one of the two, Montana State, Idaho State. He's their new running backs coach. So they definitely got, I guess, pay raises,
Right.
promotions.
Right.
Um, Now, I will say, I don't know so much about the defensive coordinator they brought in, but I know the offensive coordinator was just at Youngstown State for the last 5 years, and he has a pretty good track record. So, if any of the offense that them YSU teams had translates over, I think they'll have good coaching. It's just
Good.
a matter of if they have the players for it.
Well, and he'll be familiar with the conference too, because Youngstown
Hmm.
State's in the league.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize this, but it's only Robert Morris' second year in that conference. Is that right?
Second year back. They left the NEC back in after the 2019 season and went to
Okay.
the OVC Big South.
Right.
And I think they were kind of just outmatched up there. Um,
Gotcha.
never got the quality of players that they needed to kind of get into contention. But so
Yeah.
yeah, it's second year back. So last year was a pretty good year for them considering all that.
Right. Yeah, they finished third in the league, right? Is that right?
They were in the battle for or at least a share of the championship for up until like the second or third last week of the season.
Right. All right. I'm going to ask you a question. West Virginia actually has a former player on the RMU team, Tyler Evans, wide receiver. Uh, do you think he'll get any action? Do you think he'll see action? Do you think he'll get snaps for his team, or is he
You
going to?
know,
What are you thinking there?
it's one of those things where probably, especially yet again, I get he's a smaller guy at 5'8", but
Hmm.
just with that Big 12 pedigree, I mean, they'll probably give him looks. Yet again, I haven't seen anything, and
Right.
every time I ask about these guys, it's wish I could help you, but trying to keep it
Yep.
under the wrap. So
Yeah.
probably, I mean, and if he doesn't play in Saturday's game, I'm sure we'll see him at some point this year. But it would be pretty cool for him to get a couple snaps against his old team.
Yeah. Yeah, man. What's the deal with all these coaches now? All of a sudden, just won't tell media anything anymore.
Mm,
I'm starting to see more and more of that. I think. I guess it's
yeah.
the pressure these guys are under now. They just maybe they're scared, nervous. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Um. At least in RMU's instance, I don't think they honestly know what to tell people because I think they're still just trying to figure stuff out
Yeah,
themselves. So I
that's
think it's
fair.
less of that, more of yeah, I don't know myself, so
Until
I
they see
can't.
him in a game. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and of course we've heard Rich Rod say something similar in a few instances. I mean, he said he has also said he wants to keep a lot of things close to the vest,
Hmm.
but he's also said, hey, I don't really know until we see him in a game
Hmm.
because there are guys who play better when the lights come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And so and plus they've been playing against each other every day, and until you get to see them, it's just like you know there were a lot of years where we thought West Virginia was going to be good at a certain position or offense might be really good. Well, it come to find out the guys they were playing against every day just weren't very good, or the
Hmm.
defense wasn't. You know what I mean? So maybe they weren't
Hmm.
as good offensive. And that's just one example. And coaches, I'm sure, can have those same questions like, okay, are we this bad here, or are we this good on the opposite side, right? You don't really
Now,
know that
yeah,
until you
I
start seeing other competition.
yeah, I agree. Especially in football, I think it's a little easier in basketball because you get those expositions
Hmm.
before the season. You see them against other people. In football, yeah, it's against themselves until that first snap of the year. So
Yeah. What is the expectation around this program? Is it with all the new pieces? Is it, hey, let's just compete, or do you get a sense that there's the expectation to go out and compete for a conference championship this year? What's your thoughts there? And I'm talking about not just the program but the fan base too, and the
yeah,
media and everybody.
I would say, at least from what I hear and just what I've learned about the coaches up there, Bernard Clark and stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
they're gonna go and they're gonna go to work every day and definitely try to get better. They're gonna go in there and play their best every weekend. I think they have a lot of confidence of in themselves to, regardless of the roster turnover, that they can compete in this league. And yet again, I think the other coaches in the league see it too, and that's why they at least got one first place vote, regardless of all the turnover. Whereas like Duquesne and Central Connecticut State, they had far less roster turnover, but still yielded a first place vote to
Right.
RMU. So I think there's definitely belief in them within
Yeah.
themselves and from the outside.
Okay. Do you? And I'm not going to ask you to give a score prediction because I didn't know if you guys were allowed to do that or not. But do you see Robert Morris being able to compete with West Virginia on Saturday and keeping it close? What are your
You know,
thoughts?
if I think by the end of the game, WVU should, be up pretty handedly. But I think, especially with with the similar situations of different quarterbacks are going to be playing on both sides, guys are going to be rotating. I think it could be interesting for a quarter or two, but I think just a Big 12 program
Hmm.
should be able to wear them down by the end of the game and get up by three or four scores, if not more.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough, man. Well, listen, Adam, one more time, let everybody know where to find you and your work, man.
Yeah, you could follow me at Adam Borst PGH on X, and then check out all our work at RMU Sports Now.com.
Yeah. And a reminder, by the way, for those watching, you see it along the bottom of the screen on the ticker there. But for those listening, the game this Saturday is expected to be played. Well, it is going to be played rather inside Milan Pushkar Stadium. It should kick off around 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's going to air on ESPN Plus. That's this Saturday, August 30th. So it'll be interesting. I don't think these two teams have played before, have they?
No, I think this is honestly RMU's first game against a Big 12 opponent ever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
I,
read. I thought, even though these two teams are both not that far apart, I mean, what, within an hour and a half of each other, ballpark,
hmm
they've never played. Because West Virginia's played Duquesne
hmm
uh, before. They played obviously they play Pitt every year, but I was a little shocked to see they hadn't played RMU at any point. They played Youngstown State, so. But anyway, well, Adam, thanks again, man, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your time and your knowledge of RMU.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
And by the way, everybody, thank you for joining the show. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf and Q Country Roads.